From the hedges and trees to each blade of grass comes a yard that's at the top of its class, and it's thanks to work starting each day at dawn that no lawn is as neat as Llama John's lawn.
He tries his best to impress the rest of the town, but they hurry along, and they never slow down. John's starting to think that nobody cares, but the truth is, they're all a little bit scared. They're fine with that forest that's gnarled and mean. It's John and his lawn that has them fleeing the scene. For though Llama John wants large gawking crowds, he's obsessed with telling them what's not allowed. So he does what he does to keep the lawn neat, while keeping the whole town back on the street. He spends his days keeping the lawn looking just right, and falls asleep reading its stories each night. He wakes in the morning with a yelp and a yawn, and gasps with alarm at his once perfect lawn. There are bite marks and flat spots and some sort of moat that all lead to the mouth of one hungry goat. A goat that goes toward him like one hungry mower, then swerves right around him without going slower. She hoovers up grass from right round the tree, then makes a beeline for John's shrubbery. "My lawn is a mess, you've ruined my art. How could you do this to me? Have you no heart?" With clippers John aimed to snip Billy's beard, but Billy bleated and ducked and then disappeared. John fumed himself. Had he ever been madder? As he climbed up the rungs of his pruning ladder, to fix the trees, shrubs, and hedges she'd chowed, when all of a sudden he heard something loud. Some townsfolk had stopped and a crowd was forming, all watching the work of someone performing. There nibbling and gnawing on the forest floor was Billy again. She was at it once more. The tree and the shrubs began to take shape, turned to dolphins and horses and a mighty great ape. But just before finishing she had to stop, for try as she might, she could not reach the top. Watching Billy go is a remarkable show. This little goat wonder just knows how to mow. Soon, though all the chewable parts were gone, she'd done what she could and let out a yawn. It's the moment he'd wanted. There were the crowds, and as they turned toward him he puffed up all proud. But they stood there quiet, waiting for John to finally do more than stay on his lawn. His lawn was pristine and had been for years, but when was the last time he'd looked up from his shears? That moment, it seemed, was enough to remind him as he walked to the forest, dragging the ladder behind him. Up the ladder went Billy, all ready to chew, as the crowd filed back to take in the view. They gasped and laughed, pointed and leaned. From Llama John's lawn they could see the whole scene. John looked back at his lawn and took it all in. They were all there, but the moment felt thin. The whole town stood standing in one little line, not daring to disobey his not allowed sign. They had all come, they were finally there, but why wouldn't they do more than just sit and stare? He came back across and cut through the crowd, and crossed out the knot and left up aloud. So Billy kept nibbling and chewing the greens, transforming them all into wondrous scenes. As the animals played and laid out in the shade, John looked out at what together they'd made. He'd thought he was fine, making art on his own, but there was something that John hadn't quite known. It wasn't about making art that impressed, it was making art with others that John liked best.